Hey guys, yeah, it's Andy out. Very warm, Andy, and a boiling hot Saturday night. Well, correction, Sunday night. I'm getting completely confused here. Is what it is. Anyway, okay, I want to have a chat to you tonight about a couple of things, really. Now, some of you know, obviously, I've got another poetry book on the way. I will have a copy of that in my hands during this week some point, so I'll be back online again in a couple of days' time to give you all a preview of that. But bizarrely enough, another book that I was going to bring up after that has got into my hands quicker than the poetry book has. So I want to talk to you about this tonight. And this is the book. It's called Adventures in Word and Sound, Volume 1. What this is not poetry. It's actually non-fiction. And what's going on with this is a collection of around about the first 53, 54 articles that I've wrote pretty well since last March, April for the Sunday Tribune. Now, what the Sunday Tribune is, I'll read it out to you off their website so you know exactly what they are and what they do. The Sunday Tribune is an online magazine that focuses on truth, spirituality, ancient wisdom, forgotten knowledge, look at the arcane and mysteries that lead to one's awareness of self and the real world. The Sunday Tribune promotes free thinking and writing, the arts and music that deals with well-being and personal development. We are truth seekers in religion, philosophy and the sciences. We are a group of like-minded individuals who are journalists, writers, free thinkers, artists and expressions of truth to bring you the inside tracks of what is going on in people's lives, see for truth in this world. Now, in my case, there's nothing to hide this one. I got approached by a friend of mine called Jude. Would I write a column or two in this journal last year? And the way it fell at my life at the time was, if you read the blurb in the back of the book, it basically says this. So I'll read out what the blurb says, you get a more direct answer. At the start of lockdown in April 2020, after being sent home to protect him from COVID-19 because of his diabetes by his day job, Andy N got offered the chance to write a weekly column for the Sunday Tribune that allowed him to write what he thought were only a few articles while he waited for the all clear to return to work. Adventures in Sound and Word Volume 1 is the first collection of these such articles, speaking to writers, artists and various kinds of creative people, detailing and talking to them about their struggles through the early days of lockdown. Adventures in Sound and Word Volume 1 is the first in a series of features, almost like a diary of everyone's lives, more than a series of features for an arts magazine, bringing forward joint and dual emotions that everything began to change in their lives, and their creativity was the only thing keeping them going throughout times of unheard of previously. Now, with this book, I'm not going to read anything from it because you can read it all online on sundaytribune.com if you want, but I wanted to bring it all forward as a book to give it like a united voice. And what it covered on there was various bits and pieces going on because it's well known, obviously, I'm standard performance poet, among other things. And the first article that I wrote at the time in this was back in the 24th of May 2020. Although there was one done 2019, but that was a test really. And what I talked about, and this is started it off really, was when I was talking about the rise in viral literature nights. And it's hard to believe really when you think about it. Like a lot of artists based on themselves. I was active as a performing poet for 13, 14 years, up and down the northwest of England, and occasionally a bit beyond that as well. And to jump from that to performing on Zoom and Facebook Live occasionally was a big jump for us really, because it's somewhat like used to the interaction with people. And I think it's impacted a lot of artists really difficultly. I've carried on, I've managed to work through it, but I know a number of writers have stopped altogether. And this book really covers in people's lives. Well, you've got here for the first interview came with Amanda Bartlett. She was actually down at the time as we went into lockdown for just bringing a novel really, the Ghost to Me novel. It was due to come out just as we went into lockdown, And it was quite plainly obvious if you tracked Amanda, it looked like it was going to do something. And the first feature in this, where she was being very, very honest, I think how it impacted it, just completely changed and caused havoc for her. And then straight after that, we had our friend Lady Ilaria. Ilaria was a fantastic storyteller. And she was telling us all about the way her life's just completely changed overnight and everything. And then I'm not going to go for all of them, but I talked a lot to also like Bella Kenyon's Fly on the Wall Press, and she was telling me as well, the art feature in this, but like how the changes to approaches of publishing actually changed literally again almost overnight. It has done for the last 18 months. One of my favourite articles in this came from a young lady called Ruth O'Reilly, who's an all FM radio presenter. And Ruth told me an incredible story. Like, she's been on all of them for a good couple of years now, certainly because she's big friends with Amanda. And she was doing a radio program before I got talking to Amanda originally as friends. And Ruth told an incredible story, basically where, like, obviously she couldn't go into a studio to do a radio program. She got asked, could she do it at home? And a laptop broke down almost immediately. And she spent, I don't know if she's still doing this, Ruth, perhaps you could tell us. But I know she spent some time after that actually doing the actual radio program, an hour a week on the phone, which is unprecedented, really, because you think you could have done it a couple of years ago. Like, the technology just plain and simply wasn't there. Then, like, you look at another big thing that happened last year. Obviously, we started getting like things, online festivals coming up. And I did a set for Modwords over in Ireland, and that was like, I was doing like half an hour set over actually through Zoom, I seem to recall it was. And I basically sent the file over to them. And like, when you're doing that sort of thing previously, as Alina Ashkoff was telling me as well from her feature of this, you basically were like talking for half an hour, and sometimes even more, actually into a camera. And there's a lot of features in this book. It just goes on about how it all changed for everybody basically almost overnight. And one of the series that came from this that proved very, very popular, and actually, I mean, there is in this book as well. There was a few anyway. I've forgotten how many there was myself now. Yeah, there we are. I'll just tell you. Yeah, first 13, and there's been over 4 or 5 since then, of a series I set up. It's called Writers' Influences. And Writers' Influences, I thought to myself, over this time period, writers obviously would have chances to think about the writing more if they're going to carry on writing, as well as getting time to sit down and perhaps do more reading as well. Because they're like, my case, certainly, I've not been a massive reader. I've read all my life, really, compared to some members of my family who read. I mean, my dad's like, a really good example of this. My dad is an absolute gigantic reader. And I'm kidding you not, I know him to read 15, 20 books a week. My case is, I struggle to get 2 or 3 read a month. But I wanted people to talk about some of their influences as writers. And I thought it would get them to show people how it actually impacted on their work. And dear Amanda did the first one for us, her love of Stephen King. And then it kind of took off in other directions, and other writers got involved as well. So I said there's a lot in this book, and you can easily pick it all up to read on the Sunday Tribune if you want to. And I'll say that I can always post a link if people want to read it. But there's all kinds of bits and pieces in this book itself, and it's 160 pages, and I cocked up unfortunately with it, and it's actually done as an A4, so it's actually a really big book. It's not that expensive in Amazon. I think it was £6, so it'd be £1 or 2 on top of the P&P really. And there are the Kindle versions on there as well, and that's a couple of quid as well. So now, in relation to the Sunday Tribune, like I said, now notice the words. This is the volume 1. I stopped the article at about May. Now, since May, I think I've done another 10 articles so far, and I've got another 4 or 5 that I've commissioned that I've done by sorting out basically, and hopefully I've got another few articles to follow up to that point. Now, as with the podcast, say for example, Spoken Label, it'd be nice if I can to try and keep this as an ongoing process. And if anybody wants to be featured on this in a future article for Sunday Tribune, give me a shout, because I love talking to people what projects they've got going on. It doesn't always have to be books. I'm talking about, because I think nowadays with poetry, you can get into kind of all kinds of projects. And in this, for example, there's I know with one lady who set up a haiku group, Amanda White, over lockdown. She's had thousands of people join it. And there's another lady called Mel that set up some tanker group, and another guy called Mark who did one limericks. And there's various things going around in it, and I think it's the way words are used nowadays. You can use them to various kinds of projects, not just necessarily books and running nights, and there's all kinds of things you can do. And there's a feature there, like for example, with Caroline Crossley, a lovely lady from Malden, and over Napa Weedle in April, National Poetry Writing Month, for those who don't know, which is like you write a poem a day. She decided to try and tackle basically as many different forms as poetry as she could over April. I think she's 48, if my memory is correct. You think really that's like, which is a heck of an achievement, really. So I want to try and keep this going with features like that as well, and anything I can do to encourage people to keep writing and look for opportunities and learn to just think, basically. So now you can easily find me on Facebook, Andy N Poet, if you want to chat. My email address is aen1npo@yahoo.co.uk. I'll repeat that. aen1npo@yahoo.co.uk. I said I want to keep this going as a project, and I can only do it if people get in contact with me, really. So, well, I said, anyway, that's it from that today. So there's not a lot else to really add now. Amanda's asked me to drop a quick message as well in relation to printed words as well tonight. Now, a few of you know, obviously, there's another printed words anthology on the way shortly, called From the Shadows, which I believe has got it's gone up on Amazon now. It's got a pre-order date around like 27th of August. So watch out for it, because it's going to be a cracking book. And I know she's got a number of launches and opportunities coming. So that's it for tonight. All been well. A couple of days' time, I'll be back again with the haiku book, Haiku of Life, and I've got plenty to tell you about that. Take care, guys and girls. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Don't get burnt.